All right, so this is the second video. We got the truck running. We went through its distributor, got the fuel system working. Still working on cleaning out the fuel filter. Still getting tons of crap from the tank. Coolant system looks good, doesn't leak. PTO does not work. So I can't engage PTO. I also can't engage the 2-speed rear end. Don't know what that's about yet. So that really sucks because I probably didn't mention this in our previous video, but this truck has a bed half full of 8-year-old Milo that's rotting. So until I can get the PTO fixed, I can't go and dump it somewhere. So we got to get all that figured out. But the first agenda is the carb runs terribly. And I think in the first video I mentioned that it is a Rochester 2-barrel, but it's actually not. It's a Stromberg 2-barrel. So completely out of the question to put a new carb on that. It is prohibitively expensive. I think the cheapest I found was around $400. I found a rebuild kit for it for $23. So this video is mostly going to be us rebuilding the carb and then trying to figure out what's going on with this brake master cylinder, because we also found out that this has failed, or something in the brakes have failed. I can't get it to pump up, I can't get it to prime. It is a Midland single pot, and if you know anything about those, they're prohibitively expensive to buy new, and I can't find a rebuild kit for it. So I'm going to pull it off, and I'm going to try to bench bleed it over there on my bench, which, by the way, as you can see, I probably didn't mention it, I have moved the truck to my house. My wife is a very patient and kind woman because it is right in our driveway. So shout out to my beautiful wife who puts up with my dingbat stuff that I do every day. So, yep, today, carb brakes. Let's get at it. Hashtag disappointed. Really thought this was a 478, and I've been advertising it as such, and, well, I'm a liar. That is the standard small intake for a 305. So what we got here is a Big 6 305. Still cool, rare motor, still excited to work on it, but the internet critics out there would probably, the keyboard warriors would probably start giving me a little crap about, well, that's not a 478, look at that, that's a small, that's not the Magnum intake, blah, 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 tuck, 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 click, click, clack. So, to beat him to the punch, no, it's not a 478, it's a 305. 351 and up got the Magnum intake, which has a spread. The back two bolts on the firewall side are spread out wider, and it's an overall bigger intake. Still uses the same carb, just with a different plate. So my rebuild kit I got for the carb should still work. But anyway, lame discovery. All right, and about 5 minutes later, we got the master cylinder pulled off. Got this little piece of scrap laying around. I'm going to use it to build myself a self-bleeder, and then we'll start pushing on this and see if we can figure out what's going on. But I suspect, you look in here, we're looking at a rebuild or replacement, but at least we'd be able to get measurements, and maybe what I'm hoping for, if I can level with you, is to use an alternative Bendix, some other brake solutions, of course AC Delco. They all had their own flavor of the month on this truck as far as brakes go. So my hope is that I can use a single pot of the different ones, and what we can measure out and find out is this bolt pattern, this distance, and here, and this push right here be about the same length, or at the very least I can fabricate something from here to here for the truck puck, and we can put in an alternative part. That's my hope, because I think this thing's shot. There's no rebuild kits for it, and like I said, they're like $400. And now for this carb, we'll start rebuilding it here in a minute too, and you'll see a nice fun time lapse of that. But this thing pukes fuel out of the accelerator pump, so that definitely needs replaced. The choke up here If you look down in there, she's just a little grody from sitting, from running crappy fuel. And I shouldn't have tipped it over because I dumped a bunch of fuel out of the float. So anyway, we are going to start working on this here in a minute. Interesting find on this carburetor as we're working on it, pulling it apart. This, if I would have read the directions, would have told me, this is threaded backwards. So you turn it clockwise to loosen it and counterclockwise to tighten it. So this hold right here, which holds this arm, let's see, there's the screw there, backwards threaded. Kind of neat. Well, that's not going to make a carburetor happy. Look at all that sludge. Woo! That's going to have to be cleaned up. We're going to have to blast that crap out before we let this thing soak overnight. But yeah, this is definitely a tired old carb. Well, I think we've hit a snag for the night. The mains, I believe they're the mains. Down at the bottom here, there's two big flatheads that hold them in. They're just seized in with corrosion and gross. So I've got them soaking in PB Blaster. Probably leave them soaking overnight. I got a seal down there that's pretty gummed up too. So what I could get out and soaking in the carburetor cleaner overnight, I have in there. So the main, bottom butterflies, the float, things like that. That stuff will soak in the good juice overnight and hopefully release its evil. And then we'll go from there. And as for this brake master cylinder, I don't know if you can tell, it's still kind of wet from me cleaning it out with brake cleaner, but oh, you kind of gotta brace this table or it moves. I can't tell if that's good or bad. Looks like there's still some bubbles. It's kind of frothy. I think there shouldn't be any bubbles at all. So I'm thinking this guy's shot. Yep. No good. Lame. Well, I stopped the other night to let some stuff get cleaned. I'll have to pull that out and see how that went, but I'm going to be stuck because I'm going to have to order a special tool because these jets in here, you can see one I've kind of nicked up a little bit, trying some not special tools. But to get these plugs out, what I ended up doing, let's back up, start over. Okay, these are stuck. Need a special tool to pull them out. I think Speedway Motor has one, so I'll have to order it. These plugs that were blocking in here were pretty well corroded on there. What I ended up having to do was I got part of my slap hammer kit out that fitted onto my impact, and then as soon as I hit them with the impact, they broke right loose, happily. So I'll put those in the cleaner tonight. I'm probably going to pull all the parts that I've had in the cleaner and go ahead and just start letting this one soak while the part's coming in for that, because hell, I may as well. It'll be sitting for a while. So that's where we're at. I'm not sure what order all this will get edited into, but we had to stop on the carburetor. I have to wait for an additional tool. It's in there soaking, but the jets require a special tool I don't have. So it's waiting. It's been a couple days on that. And then, gosh darn it, I ended up having to bite the bullet and buy a new master cylinder, a new Midland. So we're bench pumping it now. And then hopefully we'll be able to throw it in the truck and have brakes. And then otherwise, we're just working on getting that PTO and that rear, 2-speed rear, maybe get the cables working on it. And we'll go from there. well, I think we're about as far as we can go until we get some parts in. The new master's on, and my wife helped me out, and we got it bled. Feels like we're getting brakes, and the shoes are moving, so I think that we've got brakes. So now I'm just doing some little weird stuff, like adding a hillbilly reservoir for coolant and stuff like that. So we'll be fiddling for a few days and waiting for the parts to come in.